So yesterday we finished reading the verse from the three principal aspects of the path about the measure of having cultivated renunciation, right? You remember? And we also started reading from the Sakya Pandita's instruction, the third line, which was attachment to your, we read that actually, attachment to your own self-interest is like nurturing the child of an enemy. It may bring joy at first, but in the end only leads to ruin. Just so, attachment to your own welfare brings happiness in the short term, but eventually leads you to the lower realms. So that means, instead of cultivating bodhicitta, if you cultivate self-cherishing attitude, which we discussed yesterday, the two enemies, self-cherishing attitude, which means thinking just about yourself and completely forgetting others, then it's really like nurturing the child of your enemy. So gradually this self-cherishing attitude, which I explained as thinking just about yourself and completely forgetting about others, that will destroy you completely. Self-cherishing attitude will destroy you completely. Because in the Buddhist teachings it is said, and also based on our own experience, you will be able to see clearly that the more you think just about yourself only, trying to be extremely clever to reap the benefit for yourself, exploit others, cheat others, engage in corruption, whatever, do all those nasty things for you to get money, name, fame, whatever, that will ruin you at the end. Because whenever you do this destructive, negative things, and many a times you do it quietly, thinking that nobody will know, right? But other people also not so stupid. They get the wind of what you are doing. And then there will be no trust and so forth. And the most important thing is your own conscience has witnessed everything that you are doing. So deep down there is no satisfaction. Now when we talk about getting happiness, that is our goal, long-lasting happiness. So happiness means genuine satisfaction. Genuine satisfaction. Now if you lead a life of duplicity, saying one thing and doing another thing, right? Then deep down there is no satisfaction, because your conscience knows, yes, I acted beautifully, but this is what how I live, this is what I think. So there is a divide between what you do and what you say. So deep down there is no satisfaction. So when there is no deep down satisfaction, you will never have that complete happiness. If you live a life which is really free from cheating or any other negative things, not leading a life of duplicity, then you are completely free from any guilt. I did my best, I was honest, nothing to hide, so you get very good sleep, very good rest, you see. So it's really like when we talk about getting rest, it's not just doing something and sitting there. Many people think rest means not just doing and sitting there. Rest, actually, for me, rest means doing something that will make your mind calm and happy. Right? So if you do that, then you will enjoy. And then there is a sense of, there is a seat here also, a lot of nice seats here. Yeah. So happiness, as I was saying, was happiness means genuine satisfaction. Now you can see for yourself whether you will get genuine satisfaction just doing things just for yourself alone or doing something for others. Again, it's very interesting. It's in the nature of human beings that when you do something for others, especially when you do something for others without expecting anything in return, then you get genuine satisfaction. Especially if you do that with love. That's why the parents, they enjoy so much helping their small kids. The small kids, they have nothing to give except Navtukte Namato. They're helpless, innocent, they have nothing to give, It's really like not 1 day, 2 days, but many years of hard labor, I am amazed when I think about the care that is given by the mother to their small kids, It's not just a day, a night, 1 month, years. But still they are like always laughing and they're always praising the kid, The kid may not necessarily be very handsome or very beautiful. Some kids have very big ugly heads also, But still they will not see that ugliness. They will shower praise after praise that my child started speaking, my child started walking, my child started eating. Talk about all the good things. Love minimizes fault. Love minimizes fault. And the fault we normally see in other people is also an indication that we don't love those people. Deep down you have some kind of disliking or hatred. Because of this, you start saying bad things about that other people. You see, when you genuinely love somebody, you see the good qualities. You see? So love is not how many times you touch each other. It's how many times you reach each other. Meaning mentally you reach each other. Not just like the ordinary way, hugging, not like that. It's really mentally reaching each other. And when you have that, you feel comfortable. You may be here in Dharamsala, but if you have somebody, brother, sister, somebody who you really care, love, my brother is there, my brother called me, my sister called me, my friend called me, you feel happy. But if you don't have this connection through love and affection, doesn't matter you are rich, doesn't matter you are clever, but you feel somewhere, you feel lonely. You feel lonely. So feeling loneliness is not so much about whether you are surrounded by many people here or not, but it's the mental connection to people who you really love, who you really care, you see. Then you feel happy, even if you don't call them your friend, your relatives, but if you are able to smile, talk to each other, share a cup of tea to each other, that's wonderful. You see, then you get that happiness, that peace. So therefore, the next point that we are talking about is bodhicitta. Against the self-cherishing attitude. Bodhicitta is the counter force, antidote against self-cherishing attitude. The enemy number 2. Bodhicitta means, now among these different kinds of mind that wishes to help others, there cannot be a mind which is superior or better than bodhicitta. If you have one, tell me. We have loving kindness, we have compassion, we have friendship, and so many good minds are there. But none of these benevolent or good minds can compete bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, this word bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word which means bodhi means enlightenment, citta means mind. So roughly translated, it is the mind to enlightenment. So the definition of bodhicitta is, how nice if I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is definition. How nice if I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. That's bodhicitta. Now ordinarily, to your friends, your relatives, to your friends, to others, we try our best to help materially or this way, that way, we try to provide some help. But how far this kind of help goes? Not much. Even if you give somebody like $1,000, it's useful, but how far it will go? It will not go very far, really. And Buddha has seen this very clearly. Giving material gifts and other things are good, but it will not go very far. So long as the sentient beings, they themselves don't know how to take care of themselves, if they themselves don't know how to remove the cause of suffering, the problems will be there. Problems will be ceaseless, as we are all experiencing, because the root cause of suffering we have no idea. And we never try to challenge that root cause of suffering. So what we are doing ordinarily is really our horge paksa lemba jawa na hire. They exchange book lemba chung chung jab, they exchange book lemba chung chung jab. You put many pages, but it's not solution. And that's what the modern medicine, all the modern systems of helping people are patchworks. If you have a kidney problem, take the kidney out. Eye problem, replace it. That's what modern systems do. But what is taught in Buddhism? No, there must be a holistic treatment. By taking into consideration the relation of everything to each other. Like in the case of your body, your eye is related to your feet or your ear or whatever. You see, like so something goes wrong with your ear, you lose your balance. The power to keep balance is very much related to your experience in the ear. You see, things like this, so closely related. So you need to take into consideration the whole thing, not just the small part. So therefore the Buddha came with this idea that I need to help all sentient beings become Buddha, completely enlightened, having removed the root cause of ignorance, having removed self-cherishing attitude. Then they can really relax and go for a long holiday in the true sense of the term. And we can try this, we can try. I'm sure we all have tried. We have to simply reflect back and remember those days when you helped somebody genuinely, how much benefit you got, how much happiness you got. Remember those days when you fought with somebody, what did you get? Very simple, very easy. And especially as we were discussing yesterday, this human beings having this wonderful human intelligence, the capacity to judge between what is right and what is wrong. Having got this wonderful mind, if we are unable to use this, it's such a wastage. Such a wastage. And then as we already read that although we have obtained this precious human life, now in our case we are doubly or triply lucky. Because one, we obtained precious human life. Second, we met this precious teaching of the Buddha. Thirdly, we are living, people in Dharamsala or even otherwise others, we are living very close to His Holiness Dalai Lama and some great teachers. It's like a dream. Like a dream. And those of us, especially those of us who live in Dharamsala, sometimes, the unfortunate thing is, we hardly attend His Holiness teaching, we think we are somebody, This is human tendency. When you have access to wonderful things, you don't cherish them, you don't take advantage of them. When those things are not, then it's, oh, I miss him or her. Then it's hazard. So we have this, we need to realize this wonderful opportunity of having obtained precious human life, of having encountered the precious teaching, of having encountered precious teachers, and so forth. To lynching ye danger de tam karse ina karimajung ne la tungba ina chingtronyin du se sikji yang chitemas. This precious human life that you have obtained only one time. Now there's a risk that you will go empty-handed unless you be very careful. So therefore, in terms of spiritual practice, it is important not to postpone it, because the death will come anytime, as we already discussed. In the modern world, we are very good in seeking appointments, but the Lord of Death will not seek your appointment. When do you want to die? They'll never ask you this question. It can be any time, and especially, number one, our life itself is fragile. Number two, we are also not very careful, right? In terms of our food, in terms of our travel, in many things. So there are many causes and conditions for death, but less causes and conditions for survival or health. So we need to be extra careful. Well, so therefore, to make this precious human life precious in the true sense of the term, you need to cultivate bodhicitta, wisdom, understanding, emptiness. As we summed up already the three principal aspects of the path. Now I really wish all of you remember this for the rest of your life. There cannot be a better practice than this. Renunciation, bodhicitta, wisdom, understanding, emptiness. Now once you understand meaning of bodhicitta, once you understand meaning of renunciation, once you understand meaning of emptiness, next time you go and receive His Holiness teaching, you will be so happy. Oh, I know a little bit about bodhicitta. I know a little bit about emptiness here. Then there is some flavor. And then especially it's important, how important this is to your real life. We need to think like that. Buddhism must make sense in today's world. We are not just following a tradition because it has been practiced by our Tibetan forefathers. Not because of that. It has to make sense in our own world. So you need to think carefully whether it makes sense or not. If it doesn't make sense, of course we have every right to just give it up. But believe me, there is no other alternative, better alternative to make you really happy. There is no other alternative. Some of the seemingly kind of good alternatives are money, material prosperity, wealth. And for that everybody is running this race. Everybody. Day and night. But how much we manage to reduce real suffering, real problem in the world today with the technological and material development. I'm not saying we don't need this, but what I'm saying is there's not the solution, not the ultimate solution, unless we face many problems. When we face many problems, we cannot blame religion, we cannot blame science, we cannot blame technology. The blame goes to the human being who is the user of religion, who is the user of politics, who is the user of technology, user of science. Sometimes we say politics is dirty. Politics itself is neither dirty nor pure. It is dependent upon how you use it. If you misuse it, even religion becomes dirty religion. So all this is done by human beings. So therefore His Holiness is very concerned about the deteriorating situations of human values. So that's why he is talking the monastics to study science, to help Buddhism make sense in today's world, together with scientific knowledge. He's talking about teaching secular ethics, so that the ethics make sense in today's world at least. And sometimes I really feel like His Holiness is a little bit getting desperate. When you talk about nirvana, enlightenment, how many will practice this seriously? So they said, oh, forget about nirvana, enlightenment. Let us talk about this life. This life, at least this life, you should have a happiness. That even if this life we don't get the real happiness, then it's pathetic. Even in this life, many ordinary people are suffering unnecessarily because of bad leader, because of lack of compassion, lack of love in the society, Poor people. Sometimes I'm really shocked to see poor people in the big cities. I have seen some of the poor people, they hardly sleep the whole night. They go to different dirty factories, Just few days, how many, 17, 18 people are killed in a crackers factory. Actually, the crackers were actually banned since last year. But then they pretended that they were doing something else, not crackers, but inside they were like running that production of crackers. And then there was an explosion or something, 17 people died like this. This is the plight of the ordinary people. Just for something to eat, a small place. Look at the place where they are living. Hundreds are dying in the winter, sleeping on the pavement outside. So all these problems are there because there's no love. There's no feeling for other people. Politicians, they talk about many big things. Whether it's in America or in India, wherever they talk many big things, but the big things go only in the newspaper, and we are starting this, we are doing this, and this is for this, all these advertisements, but at the ground level, according to one of the latest Oxfam report, 82 percentage of the world's wealth is enjoyed by 1% of the rich people. Imagine. That's the latest report they are talking about these days. Too much inequality. And especially small kids of these very poor people. They are born in this world with some hope, with a bright eye and tiny little hand. Nothing to eat, nothing to wear. Born in the street, die in the street. So if we have at least some feeling, we'll be able to help some of them. And if you do that, then you are great. Then you obtain precious human life. If these things are not there, then what is so great that you have nice place to live, a lot of things to eat. Sarvameva. So therefore this of course, this is basically because of ignorance. Because having no loving kindness, compassion. So therefore, we must, attachment to your own self-interest is like nurturing the child of an enemy. When you constantly hatch this self-cherishing attitude, you get sick when it is not time to get sick. When you get old when it's not time to get old. Look at His Holiness Dalai Lama. He's 82 years old. Since childhood, he's been talking about bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, and is working tirelessly, traveling. And look at his face. Looks very young. Lucky for us. Because of his love, because of his compassion, because of his pure life. And whereas many of us, when we are about 60, we all get old. Mind stops functioning, not able to walk. Redua, Muslim Sidhu Redua. So therefore, if you nurture this loving kindness, compassion with yourself, get better health, better sleep, and you will be able to solve many of the problems. By remembering this great teaching by Shantideva, where he says, if it is something you can change, don't worry, because you can change it. If it is something you can't change it, forget about it. I jokingly use this Hindi word saying, Sale ko goli maro. If it's something you can't change, then why you talk about it? Why you constantly worry about it? That's not the solution. So if you look at this complete teaching of the Buddha, Buddha is basically saying, until now you're doing many useless things. If I try to summarize what the Buddha is saying, is until now you have been doing so many useless things, wasting your time, doing many useless things. Now stop those useless things, doing useless things. Do those things which is beneficial. Now let me give you an example. Take the example of, say, a family member, husband and wife, or brother or sister. So what the Buddha was saying is, what is beneficial is when you are living together, when you are alive, living together, be nice to each other. Look after each other, show love, show compassion. On the day when they die, no need to cry. Because crying is useless, not beneficial. And we do just the opposite. When we are living together, somebody with your family members, friends, until to the honeymoon it may be good. Okay? And then after honeymoon, and then especially more children, then maybe not so nicely living together, you see. So we don't live, unfortunately, very nicely together. But when somebody dies, then you shed your crocodile tear. And Arya Deva in his 400 words, he says this crying is also a little bit of pretension. He says, like if let us say a husband dies or wife dies, then they will cry. Then after say 1 month, meet another wife, another woman, forget everything. You see? It's in 400 verses by Arya Deva. Read that text, you see. Which is true, which is not blaming, but it's true. So therefore, in our life, it is important to do those things which is beneficial. If it is not beneficial, even if it is tradition, it's custom, don't do it. For example, I take you another example. For example, burning butter lamps. It's a kind of tradition, we all burn butter lamps. But in places where it is very hot, there are a lot of butterflies, if you burn a butter lamp, it will only attract butterflies and kill them. I have seen many people still continuously doing it and pay no attention to the death of these flies or butterflies. So in such cases, you should know, okay, this is really not helping, harming. So instead of butter lamp, I will switch on the light. Because purpose of this butter lamp is to offer the light, which removes darkness. So in this way, we need to think whether it's useful for other people's life or not just continuing as a tradition. So therefore, Buddhism must make sense in today's world. Okay? So we need to run. Verse number 01. Six, the purpose of generating the mind of enlightenment, which means what is the purpose of generating bodhicitta? If this determination to be free is not influenced by a pure mind of enlightenment, that means if this determination to be free means renunciation, which we have discussed in the preceding verse. If this determination to be free or renunciation, although it is important, but if it is not influenced by the pure mind of enlightenment, which means if it is not influenced by bodhicitta, it will not become a cause for unsurpassable enlightenment, the perfect bliss. So simply said, it means even if you have developed renunciation, if it is not influenced by bodhicitta, that renunciation will become a cause only to get personal liberation, but it will not become a cause to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. It will not become a cause for unsurpassable enlightenment, means Buddhahood. There's nothing better than that, nothing higher than that. Therefore, it is called unsurpassable enlightenment, the perfect bliss. When you reach that state, then it's the perfect bliss. There's no falling back. Therefore, the intelligent should generate a mind of enlightenment. See, look here. Again, he uses this wonderful word. The intelligent should generate a mind of enlightenment. The stupid one should go after material collection. Because when you cultivate such a mind, your own purpose is fulfilled. Purpose of many other people is fulfilled. Just like, again, we take the example of His Holiness Dalai Lama. How many millions are getting benefit from his teaching, from his presence? And then that the benefit comes from His Holiness, because he has not been going around the world distributing dollars. He goes around the world giving them good advices, expressing his love, affection, genuinely caring about well-being and giving advices, and that is benefiting millions. That we need to know. In the past, when people have attended some of my talks, I just asked them, is it really beneficial? Because I wanted to know. And the people said, yes, it's very beneficial. Because when they go back into their daily life, they confront so many ups and downs, So on such occasions, when you have something to think, it is beneficial. Because much of the suffering that we have is, as I said earlier, unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering because we suffer because of lack of knowledge. If you have the knowledge, no need to suffer. No need to suffer. That's why in Buddhism we talk about suffering, death and so forth. Because if you know suffering, if you know death much in advance, then you are prepared. No need to be scared. For example, in our regular life, we experience both day and night. Out of the day and night, I am sure we prefer day, which has more light, no darkness. But now we all take it for granted that there is a day, there is a night. And in fact, we are able to see the benefit of night. Because if there is no night, it is only day. Imagine your health. In many countries, in Scandinavian countries, people say that many people suffering from mental disorder. because of many months light or many months day or whatever. So this is the part of the deal, you see. And suffering also. Some of the Buddhist teachers, they love at this word suffering. When they hear the word suffering, they say, what? What is suffering? They say, what is suffering? Meaning that what they are trying to say by sneering at this word suffering is, they are trying to say the so-called suffering is how you see things. When your mind is ready, nothing is source of suffering. It's amazing, the mind can play wonders. And how much your mind can make a difference in your life, you can clearly see if you watch a horror movie where somebody, the robber comes and they kills that person and then puts his hand inside the stomach and takes all the internal organs out, with the blood and everything. It's just a movie on the screen, right? But it is impacting our mind. We get horrified. Oh, it's just a screen. So when your mind is disturbed, confused, you start suffering. So this confusion and ignorance of the mind must be removed by properly understanding the reality. Accept the reality. Look in the face of the reality. Then all the problems, difficulties can be lessened or removed. Now why should we cultivate bodhicitta? Verse number 7, the means of generating the mind of enlightenment. Bodhicitta, mind of enlightenment means bodhicitta. Carried away by the four torrential rivers, bound by tight bonds of actions difficult to undo, caught in the iron net of the conception of self, thoroughly enveloped by the thick darkness of ignorance. That's the Karlagya. You can develop this bodhicitta by developing compassion. You can develop compassion by developing loving kindness. Right? You can develop loving kindness and compassion by seeing the sufferings of sentient beings. Now, if you look at the sufferings of sentient beings, then this text says the sentient beings are carried away by the four torrential rivers. If something is carried by not just one stream water, but four powerful torrential waters coming from four directions, and then it will be very forceful. And you will be caught in that torrential water and you will not be able to escape. So like that, carried away, sentient beings are really carried away by the four torrential rivers, meaning that like the four torrential rivers, sentient beings are carried by the four causes of suffering and the four fruits of those causes, like birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, then finally death, this is suffering, four sufferings. So these four sufferings in the form of birth, aging, death, sickness, they are like the four torrential rivers from which you will not be able to escape. So the life starts from birth. And Buddha said birth is suffering. And those of us who have no idea, we say, happy birthday. Right? But the Buddha said birth is suffering. Now who is right, who is wrong, we can see what the child does, what is the first thing that the child does after the birth. The first thing that the child does after the birth is crying, not laughing. Whoever you are, American, Chinese, Tibetan, whoever, the first thing that the child does is crying, meaning that he is suffering. He came into an unknown world with no clothes, no shoes, nothing, naked. Don't speak even one language, forget about two languages. Only language is crying. This is how we started our life. And then right from the second moment of the birth, aging has started. Process of death has started. I'm not trying to give you unnecessarily big picture, but this is the reality. If you are able to say this is not a reality, please tell me. This is the reality, you see. Right? Carried away by the four torrential rivers, bound by tight bonds of actions, difficult to. Now, we suffer these 4 types of sufferings of aging, birth, and so forth, because we are bound. We are bound by very tight bonds of action, negative actions that we do. Not only we are bound with these 4 problems, but we are also completely bound under negative actions. Despite our wanting not to commit any negative action, we are addicted to negative actions. We are familiar with those negative actions. We live with ordinary people. So because of the environment, because of the influence, we keep on doing the same silly mistakes again and again. The contaminant actions. Difficult to undo. So strong that it's difficult to unknot that. Caught in the iron net of the conception of the self, as I said already, ignorance. Not only you have this, you commit these negative actions, but you also have this strong conception of the self, ignorance, self-grasping. And thoroughly enveloped by the thick darkness of ignorance. Now ignorance, this conception of self and darkness of ignorance, normally that conception of self itself is called ignorance, but here also he uses the word darkness of ignorance. Here he is primarily talking about ignorance of the law of karma, the infallibility of cause-effect relationship. So what he's saying is, if we try to create a picture out of it, what he's saying is, imagine somebody carried by water, powerful water. Even if he's carried by powerful water, but if the sky is clear, his hands are free, legs are free, still he can use his hands and legs and shout, and he can do many things to try to save his life. So then he says, not only you are carried by this 4 powerful river, but your hands are bound by ropes. Then it's very difficult. You can't move your hands and legs. Now even if you are carried by that powerful water, your hands and legs are bound by strong ropes, but at least still if you are able to stretch your body, not being able to move your hands and legs, but still if you are not within a cage, then at least you can still move and try to go somewhere. But if you are, in addition to your hands and legs bound by strong ropes, if you are put inside a cage, iron net, then it's very difficult. Now even after all this, at least if the sky is clear, the weather is good, then still there is hope that some people might see you and save you. But thoroughly enveloped by thick darkness, nobody will able to, if it is like in the midnight or something, then nobody will see you. Death is definite there. So like this example, we are carried by the 4 strong rivers of birth, aging, death, sickness, and on top of that we continue to commit negative actions, and we have this strong grasping to self, ignorance, and we have no idea about cause-effect relationship. So you are in big problem. So when you see such a situation of sentient beings, then naturally your heart will move that I must do something. At least I have some knowledge. You see, I have some knowledge. And when I was working in His Holiness' office, there was somebody who came to see His Holiness, and His Holiness was explaining compassion. I remember that very well. Then His Holiness moving his hand, and he said, for example, see if there is water here on this side of the table, and there is an ant here on this side of the table. The ant is thirsty and looking for water. So he moves around and sometimes go this way, come quite close to the water, then turns back and go in the other direction, because in this way the ant will suffer from thirst, because he has no idea, the water is just very close. So we are like that. Happiness is possible, it is achievable, but because of ignorance, we turn away from it. As Shantideva says, we want happiness, but because of ignorance, We destroy our happiness as if it is our enemy. Although we have this wish to remove suffering, but we always chase after suffering. Why? Because this is the only thing we know. That's why we are very reluctant to change. You don't want to come out of your comfort zone, even if it is dirty, smelly, lot of suffering. But at least this area you are familiar. So I want to remain in this familiar terrain, then go into this unfamiliar terrain of enlightenment, nirvana, whatever it is. That's the problem. So we need to venture out a little bit. Read many of these profound teachings of the Buddha. Relate to your way of life. Then you will be able to open your wisdom eye. Verse number 8. Born into the boundless cycle existence. Boundless cycle existence. That means unless we work out our salvation, there is no end to being in the samsara. And in their births, unceasingly tormented by the three sufferings. So once we are born in this samsara, then all you will get is the three types of suffering. Suffering of change, and conditioned suffering. Suffering of suffering means the obvious sufferings. Headache, stomachache, diarrhea, 100,000 things, the obvious sufferings. That we all know. Even animals have some idea about this obvious suffering. That is called suffering of suffering. The second is called suffering of change. Suffering of change, normally we don't even see suffering of change as suffering, but we see it as happiness. We see it as happiness. But the Buddhist teaching says, no, it is not happiness, it's only change of situation, it's only reduction of your earlier suffering that you get some happiness. For example, you are all sitting here attending this talk. I did not force you to come, or nobody has forced you to come. You came by yourself. So I'm sure you are enjoying a little bit because of this wonderful teaching. Not because of my teaching, but the teaching itself. So I hope you are enjoying a little bit. But if I say that, as I already said, precious human life is very difficult to obtain precious human life. Then impermanence, when we are going to die, it's not sure. Let us focus, let us study today. For 6 hours we'll sit here. 6 hours, not an hour and a half. 6 hours. 6 hours. Just by hearing that word from me, you will get pain in your back or pain in your knee. Believe me. Your mind has already started working. 6 hours, oh my goodness, I have to cook my food, or I have to go up, down, whatever, you see. So your immediate feeling of happiness will suddenly change. Similarly, when we are hungry, then we really like to eat something. Then we eat is the first few crumbs of the food, or few rotis, whatever you enjoy. But how much you can eat? After some time, if you force yourself, you will start vomiting. In economics, we call it law of marginal utility. You see? So that's why your friendship, your wealth, nima khaise je we are aksar 4 din ki chandini fir andiri raat lavi jo wadi nima khaise je we are. Then gradually you will see the reality, see the truth. There's uncertainty in terms of friendship, in terms of the things that you enjoy, in terms of your name and fame, so forth. People who work very hard for name and fame, once they get their name and fame, then they're 24 hours they are surrounded by police. Almost like in the prison, They have no freedom. On the one hand, you want to be born as a prince or princess, and become a king. Once you become their king, you are guarded 24 hours. You can't go to a place where you like to go. There's no freedom, you see. So it's like that, you see. So there's no certainty. Suffering of change. So normally we see suffering of change as happiness. If it is happiness, then you continue to eat. Then you continue to sit for 6 hours. Then you will see. Very soon it will change into suffering. So showing clearly that this is not the real happiness. Now why we are getting these two levels of suffering, suffering and suffering of change? Because something is basically wrong. That is called conditioned suffering, the third suffering, which is called conditioned suffering. You are getting all these problems because there is something basically wrong. Look at, as I already mentioned, look at your psychophysical, the state of your psychophysical body. The mind is fragile, full of negative emotions. Body is fragile, right? So once you have taken such a life, such a birth, what will you get other than suffering and problems? The durji phalam gisujo ne reme doa subudi. Thada na da shada dinik so khajo rawa. So therefore, when we talk about achieving nirvana, when we talk about achieving nirvana, what we are trying to do is to put an end to this conditioned suffering, so that you don't have to take this rebirth in the samsara again. Once you are able to do that, then you are free. Then you are free from these three types of sufferings. So that's why, and in their rebirths, sentient beings unceasingly tormented by the three sufferings, contemplating the state of mother sentient beings in such conditions, contemplating the state of mother sentient beings. All sentient beings are your mother, in the sense that this is not your first time. You have been born many times. During all these many times in many previous lives, you have associated with so many people. They must have acted as your brother, sister, whatever, you see. So they've all been kind to you. Now look at the situation of these mother sentient beings. They are afflicted by these sufferings. And then you get this really sense of responsibility, that how can I help them to remove their suffering? Nyingje samadaj. For example, you present your child, your children, or somebody that you love. When you see that person suffering, you feel it. That person is not you. It's a different person. But because of your concern or your love, you feel it. So this shows that we can feel for other people. When they suffer, it's like you are suffering. You can feel for it. But once you develop this kind of feeling based on bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, then it's different from what we ordinarily feel. Ordinarily, when you see your children suffering, when the mother feels strongly for the suffering of the children, the mother also becomes helpless, overpowered by that suffering. Oh, my children are suffering. He also becomes helpless. So you are pressed under that suffering. But when you have compassion, then you also show that same kind of sense of responsibility, but you will not be weighed down under that feeling, because you have this wisdom, compassion based on wisdom. Then instead of being bogged down by that feeling of concern, you will be able to come out and see what is the solution for that. You are able to see that. So there is a big difference. The big difference. And then the last point out of the four, as explained by Sakya Pandita. So if I read the words from Sakya Pandita's instruction, clinging to true existence in things and their characteristics is like perceiving water in a mirage. For a moment it looks like water, but there is nothing there to drink. The samsaric existence does appear to the deluded mind as good, as useful, yet when it is examined, as we already discussed, when you examine them and see whether it is objectively good, independently good, with discriminating awareness, nothing at all is found to have any intrinsic existence. So having come to an understanding where your mind does not dwell in the past, the future, or the present, you should recognize all phenomena as naturally free from any conceptual complexity. That means when you look at the actual state of anything, none of these phenomena in the world has intrinsic or independent existence. They all have a conventional, nominal existence. And we get problem because of not understanding that these things have only conventional nominal existence and no independent existence. And how will you understand that? Ultimate truth, ultimate reality or emptiness, you will understand that through cultivating the wisdom that sees the reality. In India, there is an ancient story that there was a sadhu, Guruji, who was giving some teachings to his few students. Then after he finished his teaching, then he told one of the students, "Bete jao isko andar rakh dena. Ye kitab andar rakh dena." He brought one book and then he said, "You go inside my room and keep it on my table." So then that student goes, and after some time he comes back, Guruji, I can't go inside. Just near your table there is a snake. There is a snake. Then Guruji gives him a lamp. Koi baat nahi beta, ye diya leke jao tu. Take this lamp. No, sorry. He said, "Don't worry, I'll give you some mantra. Now you are scared, you are afraid, so chant this mantra." He gives some mantra, he goes, and then by reciting this mantra, he goes near the table, and then again says, Guruji, still the snake is there. The mantra didn't help. This is a wonderful story which explains the meaning of what I have been discussing. I read this story very recently. Then finally, Guruji was very skillful. Then finally he said, "Take this lamp." Then he takes the lamp and goes near the table, and what he sees is not a snake but a coil of rope. Coil of rope. A coil of rope from a distance, when the light is not very clear, then you see it as a snake. There's no snake, but when you see it as a snake, you get frightened. There's no snake. So we get frightened, we get problem, we get difficulties, we get sufferings because of lack of knowledge of the reality. So that's why I was saying it's unnecessary problem. If you take this lamp of wisdom, many of the sufferings you can easily remove. And that's why when the teachers they explain about the meaning of this emptiness, they say that all phenomena is like an illusion, it's like a dream. In a dream, even if you get a dream of winning $1 billion, what's the point to get too excited? It's a dream. In the dream, even if you get a horrible dream of the death of your child, what is the big deal? It's just a dream. And you will know that only when you wake up. When you wake up, then say, "Oh, I should not get excited having dreamt winning $1 billion because it was a dream. I should not get too sad because I dreamt the death of my child, but it's all dream." And I was in excitement, I was saddened in the dream because I was not awake. When I wake up, then there's no point to get too excited, too sad. So similarly, when you wake up and see the reality, develop that wisdom, many of these things we can stop. So the need to realize emptiness. Verse number 9. Oh, actually this morning I found I missed one verse. So verse number 9 is 9. I think it's okay. Without the wisdom realizing the mode of existence, even though you familiarize yourself with the determination to be free and the mind of enlightenment, the root of cycle existence cannot be cut. Therefore, make an effort to realize dependent arising. So what this verse is saying is, developing renunciation, we discussed already, it's very important. Developing bodhicitta, of course, very important. So in this verse, because he is talking about the importance of emptiness, he is saying that renunciation is very important. Bodhicitta is very important. But without the wisdom realizing the mode of existence, without the wisdom understanding the reality, emptiness, even though you familiarize yourself with the determination to be free, that means renunciation, and the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, the root of cycle existence, samsara, cannot be cut. And what is the root of samsara? Tell me now. Huh? No. What is the root of samsara? Korvesawa? The two enemies? Self-centered attitude and ignorance. Ignorance is the root cause of samsara. And when we say ignorance, what is it? It is misconception of reality. And the antidote against misconception of reality is wisdom that sees the reality as it is. That ignorance cannot be removed by renunciation. That ignorance cannot be removed by bodhicitta. They are useful, they are helpful. They will help you a little bit. But it's not the direct antidote. Right? So that's what he's saying. So without the wisdom realizing the mode of existence, even though you familiarize yourself with the determination to be free, renunciation, and the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, the root of cyclic existence, which is ignorance, cannot be cut. Therefore, make an effort to realize dependent arising. Now look at this again. Tsongkhapa is really such a wonderful teacher. Actually, we are talking about emptiness. So therefore, he should say now, therefore make an effort to realize emptiness. So instead of saying, therefore make an effort to realize emptiness, he says, therefore make an effort to realize dependent arising. Because dependent arising, as we explained yesterday, and I hope you have not forgotten, dependent arising and emptiness are two sides of the same coin. But if you start from emptiness, there is a risk that you might fall into nihilism. Because many people think emptiness means nothingness. So not starting from emptiness, but starting from dependent arising. Things arise by depending on causes and conditions, therefore there is no independent existence. That non-existence of independent existence is called emptiness. So it's very, very, very skillful. Therefore make an effort to realize dependent arising. Because if you start from dependent arising, then there's no risk of falling into nihilism. Otherwise there are people who say, but just some people say, oh, everything is emptiness, why work hard? That's the biggest stupid comment anybody can make. And in fact, because everything is emptiness, therefore you should make effort. Therefore Nagarjuna, in one of his texts, he says, to whom emptiness is possible, everything is possible. To whom emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. So emptiness means lack of independent existence. Emptiness means dependent origination. When the dependent existence is there, then you can create many things. Then there is flexibility, there is the room for movement. But if things exist right from their own side, then there's nothing we can do. It's the other way around. Huh? So after that there's one verse which I missed. Verse number 10. Verse number 10 is missed from here. So verse number 10 actually says, the one who sees that cause and effect operate infallibly for all the phenomena of samsara and nirvana, and for whom any objects of conceptual focus have subsided, has set out upon the path delighting all the Buddhas. Meaning, so this is basically saying, so verse number 10, which you have unfortunately missed, which I have missed, is the verse number 10 basically is saying, so with this understanding of dependent origination, you are able to see what is within the samsara or within the nirvana operating by depending on causes and conditions. So the cause-effect relationship is unmistaken, infallible. At the same time, you are able to, with this understanding, you are able to destroy the focus of ignorance. The focus of ignorant mind is seeing things as having inherent existence. And if you are able to destroy that focus, that object of discernment of ignorance, then you have entered the path that would please the Buddha. So he is talking about two things. One, things are there, they are functioning, operating by depending on causes and conditions, but still there is nothing that has independent existence. If you are able to understand these two together, then you have really entered the path that would please the Buddha, meaning that you have understood the correct path. This is what. So then the next verse, as we have marked as 10 in the papers I have distributed. One who sees the infallible dependent arisings, emptiness is free of assertion. As long as these two understandings are seen as separate, one has not yet realized the intent of the Buddha. Meaning that one who sees dependent arising infallible, meaning that cause-effect relationship works and so forth. So on the one hand, on the level of appearance, things function by depending on causes and conditions. At the same time, you are also able to understand emptiness, which is free of assertion, means which is free of asserting something as having inherent independent existence. So these two understanding of dependent origination and understanding of emptiness, is free from assertion of seeing things as having inherent existence. If you see these two understandings as disparate, unrelated, then still you have not understood the thought of the Buddha. To make a long story short, what he is saying is, as we already discussed, things exist. I repeat this again, as I said yesterday. Things exist, but they do not have independent existence. So existence is there, independent existence is not there. Because existence is there, therefore things arise by depending on causes and conditions. Dependent origination is not there. Independent existence is not there, therefore we can accept lack of independent existence, which is emptiness. So these two understanding go together. As I said, these two are like the two sides of the same coin. Verse number 11, actually it's 12, but now here in the text we disputed. At the time when these two realizations, understanding of emptiness, understanding of dependent origination, these two realizations are simultaneous. As and when you understand emptiness, you develop this understanding of dependent origination. As and when you develop this understanding of dependent origination, you develop this understanding of emptiness, and don't have to alternate. The understanding comes together from the mere sight of infallible dependent arising. Mere sight means as and when you merely see the dependent origination, then you are able to develop this ascertainment which completely destroys all modes of grasping. That means you are able to develop that understanding of emptiness which destroys all modes of grasping and seeing things as having inherent independent existence. At that time, the analysis of profound view is complete. Then you are successful in your research, in your analysis. As and when you see things having dependent origination, at that very moment, if you are able to also understand there is nothing that is independent existence, if you are able to come to that conclusion, that understanding, then your analysis, your research is complete. Next one. 12. Also the extreme of existence is eliminated by appearances, and the extreme of non-existence is eliminated by the emptiness. And if the mode of the arising of cause and effect from emptiness is known, you will not be captivated by the view that grasps at extremes. Now that means nangwe yuta seva sigor takarso yuta extreme of existence is eliminated by the appearance. Normally, according to the lower Buddhist schools of thought, because things appear, therefore the extreme of nihilism is eliminated. There are two extremes, extremes of existence or permanence or extremes of nihilism. So normally according to the lower Buddhist schools of thought, by the appearances, nangwa, ngazula nang de, so yawa insa, the meta-sigres, it removes the extreme of nihilism, not the extreme of existence or permanence. But Tsongkhapa is explaining this from the point of view of the Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought, where by the appearance not only you remove the extreme of nihilism, but it removes the extreme of existence in the sense that things exist, therefore they have no independent existence. Here extreme of existence means extreme of independent existence. That's one extreme. Because things appear, therefore they have dependent origination, therefore they cannot have independent existence. Therefore, the extreme of independent existence is removed. That's the meaning. But ordinarily speaking, things exist, therefore it removes nihilism. But here he is explaining it in a different way. At the extreme of non-existence is eliminated by the emptiness. Now normally extreme of non-existence is eliminated by existence. But here he is saying the extreme of non-existence, total non-existence, eliminated by the emptiness, because things are empty, therefore they have dependent origination. Tungpa Yinsa, as I said already, when emptiness is possible, everything is possible. Because of emptiness, things are possible. Things can exist. Therefore, you can remove the extreme of non-existence. And if the mode of the arising of cause and effect from emptiness is known, so in this way, even though things have no independent existence, but still things can function, things can arise. So if you are able to understand this way, this mode of the arising of cause and effect from emptiness is known, you will not be captivated by the view that grasps at extremes. Then once you understand this, then you will not fall into any of these extremes of nihilism and of permanence. Then you will be able to follow the middle way. Next one. Verse number 13. Parting advice, final advice. Then Tsongkhapa says, thus, when you have realized the essentials of the three principal aspects of the path accordingly, seek solitude and generate the power of effort. That means once you have developed some understanding of the three principal aspects of the path, then you need to take some time for yourself, go to a place of solitude, do retreat, whatever, go to a place of solitude and generate the power of effort. That means make effort, make strong effort. It's not enough that you get some understanding by hearing the teaching. You have to think. It's not enough that you have thought about the teaching and understood the meaning and even developed some conviction, but you need to internalize it. Internalize it. Therefore, you need to meditate. So hearing, thinking, meditation, all the three are very, very important. That's what he is saying. So when he says seek solitude and generate the power of effort, seek solitude doesn't necessarily mean that you go to a place of solitude high up in the mountain, but he is primarily saying seek solitude means you get rid of the eight worldly concerns. We don't find real mental solitude because we are distracted by the eight worldly concerns. And eight worldly concerns are when somebody praises you, you are happy. When somebody says bad things about you, you are happy. When you become famous, you are happy. When you are not famous, you feel sad. When somebody says some pleasant things, you are happy. When somebody says nasty things, you are unhappy. So get rid of this worldly concerns. And when you are well, healthy, you are happy. When you are sick, you are unhappy. Eight worldly concerns. If you remove these eight worldly concerns, you are getting this place of solitude in your mind at least. And therefore Shantideva says, if somebody praises you, don't become too happy because there are others who are saying bad things about you. If somebody is saying bad things about you, don't get too dejected because there are other things like your friends who are saying good things about you. Me lavela hirata yemdo. Me lavela tana kompa jab him ma him tadire. Lang dena ne kharchen lang mar ma dene lagre. Dena ne kharchen de ta ya lang lagre. Ro mi ta mi lab ne kharche ta ya bar se de tepto chen khar lab ne lab se yame se di sigo marda. So ne kurta parda che. Ene mi hira lamen ta yo marba. Because your life is your life. You are not here to adjust to the needs of the society. Not to teach us ora. Miki gagdo mundo tene tuglora jina konawa do yo miuro. Ro miki. And you spend your life trying to not necessarily benefit others, but trying to adjust to the needs of others. You are not tailored to fit to the needs of others. You have your own life. So you need to know how to live your life by being sincere, by being honest. So therefore he is saying it's not enough to hear the teaching, you must think, do the homework. By thinking you will be able to develop that conviction about the usefulness of renunciation, bodhicitta, emptiness. And then you meditate and make it part of your life. For example, take the example of compassion. What is compassion? You have no understanding. Then you hear from the teacher, read a text. Compassion is a mind which says how nice if all sentient beings are without suffering. You got the meaning. Then you reflect more on it, study different types of compassion. Then you develop some conviction. Yes, compassion is really important, very, very important. But still you don't have the compassion. So therefore you need to now get habituated. Meditation means getting habituated. Meditation is not going not sitting in a corner and closing your eye and sitting there. That's not meditation. Meditation means making your mind habituated with the positive emotions, like love, like compassion. Make them part of your life. That's called habituation. That's called meditation. To repeatedly do the positive things. That's meditation. And many people don't do that, unfortunately. Meditation, they sit without breathing. Meditation is very famous these days. It is hitting the headlines of Newsweek, New York Times, everybody in the 5-star hotel. But meditation, whether you talk about analytical meditation or one-pointed meditation, for example, in the case of one-pointed meditation, gom dim you will be able to develop that one-pointed meditation when you actually experience suffering. For example, if this house is suddenly on fire, immediately we will meditate, immediately we will concentrate and see whether it's better to jump from the window or whatever. There should be something that should move you. So in this way, if you really think about the sufferings of this samsara and everything, then that will move you. That will naturally make you concentrate. Take a very simple example. For example, if you are, say, flying to America or somewhere, and you have some problem with the air ticket, you have to fix it immediately, otherwise you are going to lose a lot of money. Then you will concentrate. Then we concentrate, because now you are seeing this imminent problem. Whereas in our Dharma practice, we are just talking, meditation. There's no sense of urgency. But the purpose is really the meditation. The purpose of meditation is to be able to see how much suffering is there, how strongly we are addicted with the negative emotions. You see, and once you see this big, huge problem, then naturally you will concentrate. Then naturally you will analyze. And if that is not there, then this so-called meditation will become another piece of luxury item that is used in 5-star hotel, which people are doing already. Another part of business. Business is not really mindfulness. People are selling mindfulness practice. People are selling meditation. Making millions of dollars. And rest of us are so stupid, we don't know how to do these things. And then some of these clever people, they learn a little bit of that thing. Then trying to fix your life. Nobody can fix your life unless you make a move. Unless you make a move, you start doing, nobody can fix your life. I have shown you the path to Nirvana. Nirvana is up to you. That's what the Buddha said. Buddha is your teacher, and you have to do the homework. I'm your teacher, I can give you homework, but you have to do the homework, prepare for the exam, then only you will pass. Lhakdor. So what I'm really trying to say is, at the end of the day, these teachings are absolutely necessary. They are not a luxurious item. They are absolutely necessary. They are basic necessity. So therefore it's important we should pay more attention and try to do this. And for the Tibetans, on the one hand, it's preservation of our dying culture, dying religion. And then more importantly, this culture is such a profound, important culture which has capacity to benefit many, many people. So we should be happy to pursue this for our own well-being and well-being of many other people. And I repeatedly tell people these days, in the advanced countries, they talk about globalization. Now again that thing is changing because of the grace of Donald Trump. Now not much talking about globalization, it's division these days, unfortunately. But earlier there was a time when advanced people were talking about globalization, which is good. But globalization was talking primarily in terms of business, market. It's good, but still it's basically market. Now look at this Buddhist teaching, which is talking about benefit of all mother sentient beings. Globalization, however great, it is talking about human beings only, not about the rest of sentient beings. Now what the religion that we have, the Buddhism, is talking about benefit of all sentient beings, including the tiniest insect, helpless insect. Don't trample on them, don't kill them unnecessarily, help them. Amazing. Even any sensible person thinking who may not be necessarily Buddhist, but they are the conservationists, people who fight for animal rights, people who try to protect forest. They are not Buddhist, but they see the importance of maintaining that ecological balance, protection of environment, and all this is possible. All this is possible once you practice these three principal aspects of the path. 누가 찾아오는 감정? 거리육 숭교 피해 이나래 다 가르마고 등산 담이라 등산 고해 잡네 희부지 희에 누가 찍대 니래서 고해 많이 잡으래 당한서 패키지 해야 된거 다 개와 히라 마중다 단데셜 중에 히라 개와 마중데 데마도 찾아요. So we are very lucky. So I want to express that and thank you for spending your time for this many days. So if you have just one question, one or two questions, if there is a burning question, yes? Burning question? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I have a question about the emptiness.
Yeah.
Everything is related, causes and consequences,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But what is your think about the first one, the first causing?
Huh?
The first cause in the world?
First cause.
Yeah.
We cannot say first cause. Talking about first cause doesn't make any sense in Buddhism. Because it's infinite. If I have to have a cause, my father has to have a cause. My father has to have a cause. His father's father has to have a cause. And when you go back like this and suddenly say, Here you don't need a cause, it just started like that. Doesn't make sense. That's the Buddhist approach. And it was so comforting for me. Once I was reading Bertrand Russell, great philosopher, I think Bertrand Russell. He mentions that those people who think about a first cause shows the smallness of their mind. I'm not trying to scold you or say anything, but it really looks like that. It's infinite. It's really like a cycle. It's almost like egg and the hen, which started first. Probably. Because it doesn't make sense. That, now with due respect, I'm not trying to say anything nasty against any religion, but if you think about a particular, everything starts from cause, and then somebody came there who created everybody, and he himself nobody created. Doesn't make sense. If somebody can come out like that with everything, good things there, and then we stupid people have nothing. I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know much about those explanations, but from Buddhist viewpoint, it's a little bit illogical. Yeah.
When you genuinely help others without expectation, you still get this happy feeling.
Yeah.
So is that happy feeling is a good thing?
Very good thing.
Moodly concern.
No. Do it without concern. That's the thing.
No, because there is a cause and condition. I mean, because you don't have any expectation, but you still trying to be good, but you get this happy feeling.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't expect anything, if you do it selflessly, then you get it. That is pure profit. If you do it with concern, okay, I'm helping him so that he will gradually. He lives in America, so I help him. So he might send me some dollar, things like that. Then that's wrong. You're already entrapping yourself. Without expectation. Like the most beautiful example that is given in Buddhism is the four elements: the earth, the water, the air, and so forth. They have been nourishing us for many, many lives. But did they expect anything in back? Nothing. So like that. And if you take a more even easier example, parents, many parents, when whatever the sacrifices they make, whatever things they do for their children, I don't think they expect anything. I mean, many of them don't expect. But it doesn't mean that you don't get the benefit. You're not expecting something doesn't mean you will not get the benefit. You see? The problem is, when you expect something, then you don't get it, you are in big trouble. And even when you get it with expectation, there is not much charm. You see? It's business. So that's why many of the relations that we have in our ordinary society, the love-hate relation as we call it, we get that problem because you have expectation. I love you so long as you love me. That's expectation, that's business. So therefore what the Buddha was saying is, don't do business. You love others. Whether they love you or not, you love others because they are exactly like you, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. With that point view, you should love them, not because they are your brother, sister, or you get something from them. It's not easy. We always end up expecting something, but it's not. But as you grow up, in life, you will then gradually you will see the uselessness of expecting things. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Enjoy and dedicate whatever virtue that we have earned for long life of His Holiness Dalai Lama and well-being of everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.